Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables and sponsored by Analyst Depot. I'm your host, Ashley. This is my lovely co-host, Michael Duncan. How are you?
I'm flying high, Ashley. I'm doing wonderfully.
Very happy for you. Just you, though. No one
I'm
else.
happy for me, too.
Yeah, that was we saw that one coming.
Yes.
We did. Not a lot of people did, surprisingly.
That's because they're idiots, Ashley.
Yeah, I know. I the entire time I pointed out pregame, I kept saying what I said on the podcast last week, which was Hassan Reddick may eat Brock Purdy alive on national television. And then it happened. And then it happened to Josh Johnson. And then Brock Purdy again. And I just kept repeating it the whole night. That was the factor. It was crazy.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this more later, but Kyle Shanahan's a moron.
Yeah.
He's just...
I can't wait to talk about the Jumbotron comment. But we'll get into that after.
God. Yeah,
we'll get into that after. Let's do news. This way we can keep it all contained. Tom Brady has officially retired, and he says it is, quote, for good. This time he did beat Adam Schefter to the report, so it feels pretty official this time. Some people say he came back this year just because Adam Schefter leaked his retirement. I do want to talk about Gisele's comment on his Instagram post, which is, neither here nor there, but funny to note that she commented, wishing you only wonderful things in this new chapter of your life. Love that for her. So Tom Brady did sign a deal with Fox during his first retirement, I believe. So when he officially retired, he was going to go to the Fox booth. I know Greg Olsen had some things to say about that in the past week, talking about how, if Tom Brady wants to take my job, he's going to have to take it for me. I'm not just going to give it up. So that'll be interesting to see in the booth. But Tom Brady will no longer be on the field on Sundays.
I get why you want Tom Brady, because he's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But Greg Olsen is probably the best commentator out right now. In terms of color commentators, he's great. And he's doing the Super Bowl, right? It's Fox?
I don't remember.
90% sure?
I don't know. I can't stop talking about Greg Olsen because it's just it's everything that real football fans have wanted from the booth in a while. And I understand that color commentators are also supposed to lean in towards getting people to be football fans and explaining it in layman's terms. But Greg Olsen toes this line of layman's terms, but also catering to people who know more about football. I had said in a tweet, he answers my questions as I'm asking them. There was one question, I believe last week, that somebody went out of bounds but wasn't moving forward, so the clock didn't stop. And I had forgot that rule existed. So I was asking myself in my head, why is and then before I can even finish the question, Greg Olsen is answering it. He is everything I've ever wanted. So I'm going to be really sad if Greg Olsen is not in the booth. And honestly, if he does no longer at Fox, he will be somewhere else because I genuinely think he is one of the best in the game.
And he is the one doing the Super Bowl. As of right now, Tom Brady will not be joining for the Super Bowl.
Amazing.
Or at least he won't be taking his spot. Maybe they do a thing. I don't know. But as of right now, that's not the plan, supposedly.
Yeah. And I mean, you have to have training for that. Even the most experienced broadcasters, you have to have training to be a color commentator at a level like that,
Yeah, you could become Drew Brees or Sean Payton.
Yeah.
Man, they were both terrible, weren't they?
Yeah. Not the best.
I mean, they weren't color commentators, but still.
I liked when they turned to Sean Payton. I really do like Rob Gronkowski's role lately.
Anything that he does, I don't care. I still believe that they should give him and Pat McAfee a Manning Brothers type thing.
Yes. Oh my God. It would be so unhinged. That couldn't be on cable. That would have to be a streaming service.
I would love it.
McAfee on the Manning
tonight football to be good.
Yep. McAfee on the Manning Brothers that one time, the first time,
was awesome.
Was unhinged.
It was awesome.
I could not imagine him hosting his own.
Oh, I could. It'd be awesome.
I could imagine it, but it would be crazy, is what I'm saying.
I would love it.
On to the next. We do have several hires for the coaching position. Sean Payton was officially hired as the new head coach of the Broncos. There was a little bit of drama, I guess. I don't want to call it drama, just conversation around it, because apparently the Broncos had went to Jim Harbaugh after he officially decided to stay at Michigan, they like still went after him. And then I know they were still after D'Amico Ryans, and there are conflicting reports that neither have to do with the other because D'Amico Ryans was officially hired as the Texans head coach. Both of those happened on the same day. There are conflicting reports if they have to do with each other or not, like if the Broncos' decision with Sean Payton was hinging on D'Amico Ryans of the Texans. But we have 2 head coaches filled. So now the Texans and the Broncos can get on their way of assembling coaching staffs that suit what they're looking for.
And just real quick, the return for Sean Payton, it was the first in 2023, which I believe is like the 29th overall. It was originally the Niners that got traded to the Dolphins, that got traded to the Broncos. That went over for Sean Payton, as well as the 2022 second. And the Broncos received back Sean Payton in a 2024 third from the Saints. So
because he was still technically under contract from the Saints. So those are filled. The Cowboys mutually agreed, and I know we had a discussion about this because Dan Quinn was safe, and I accidentally said I thought Kellen Moore was. Turns out he wasn't. Cowboys mutually agreed to part ways with the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and very quickly the Chargers decided to hire former Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore as their new offensive coordinator. So he will be the offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert moving forward.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, I think that's an intriguing one. I think that's one of the more intriguing like assistant coach hires. Kellen Moore with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert, I think the other way is better to say it, Justin Herbert with an offensive coordinator like Kellen Moore, who's not afraid to throw the ball and is pretty good at playing to quarterback strengths.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they get the Kellen Moore that showed up more so earlier in his career when he was a really, really hot young coaching candidate, and not so much this one. The one that we had last year, maybe a little bit the year before, but I still think the bigger issue there is Brandon Staley, so we'll see how long this marriage lasts.
The Dolphins did choose to hire Vic Fangio as their defensive coordinator.
A lot of money too, apparently.
They did. I think that's also an intriguing one, but that's something we'll talk more a little bit about in the offseason. We still have 2 head coaching jobs still open, which is for the Arizona Cardinals because Cliff Kingsbury is enjoying his time in Thailand. Is there any of these interviews that you want to talk about? I do have them noted. I don't know. I definitely don't want to go through all of them, but is there anyone that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just pick out a couple that I think are kind of the most interesting. I think Brian Flores is obviously interesting just whenever he comes up in conversation because of everything that went on with Miami and how he left. Vance Joseph was, again, interesting. It would be an inside hire. I don't really think they go that way, but he was a pretty great defensive coordinator when he had any talent earlier in his career as a defensive coordinator in Arizona. Mike Kafka is obviously someone that I think he's been a really interesting name in coaching circles for probably like 3 or 4 years now, seemingly kind of just passing over Eric Bieniemy in that whole Andy Reid coaching tree hiring thing that happens every year. Obviously, he's now with the Giants offensive coordinator, part of a massive turnaround for that Giants offense, and he was the play caller. So I think there's a really, really good shot that he could end up kind of being the favorite. But yeah, other than that, it's just a bunch of people that got hired. Also Brian Callahan is interesting, the Bengals offensive coordinator.
Yes.
Just again, think that's an interesting one because you're coming from a great offense, and that might be what they're looking for.
Yep. And the other one with openings is the Colts. You did mention Eric Bieniemy. They have completed interviews with Eric Bieniemy. Mike Kafka is also on that list, as is Wink Martindale. So the Giants offensive and defensive coordinator are on there. Is there anyone else you want to talk about?
So Shane Steichen is hilarious. And this is purely because, so obviously my buddy Jake, he's a Colts fan. If I desperately don't want them to hire Shane Steichen because obviously I want the Eagles to keep him because I think he's really good. He's he's one of the candidates for assistant coach of the year. But the hilarity of them hiring him would be that since the Eagles hired Doug Peterson, the Colts took Doug Peterson's offensive coordinator. Then we fire Doug Peterson and we take the Colts offensive coordinator, and then they would be taking our offensive coordinator after firing our last offensive coordinator, meaning that in a few years, we would have to hire whomever Shane Steichen brings in as his offensive coordinator. Yeah. I think that's really a great
is
on a story that means nothing to anyone, but I think is hilarious. And then obviously Jeff Saturday is just fantastic.
He's on there. Love that. Yeah. Do you know those like circles? They use them in college football. That's like this team beat this team who beat this team.
Oh yeah.
Those that's what that reminds me of is something like that. What are they? There's a name for them, but I don't remember. But what you just described feels like one of those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know Jeff Saturday is a little bit buried in there. They had 2 interviews with him. Yeah, there was been a clip floating around of when Jeff Saturday was first hired, when he had said like, "Oh, if I go, what was it, 7-1 or 1-7, then I know I'm not made for this," and then I'll call.
Did he go 1-7?
He did. So that was like when he was first hired, saying like, "If I'm bad, I'm not gonna be good at this, and I'll happily be on my way." I just think there's too much talent on this list of people they've been interviewing for Jeff Saturday to get a real shot at this job.
I think he has a real shot. That's the sad part.
The thing is, it's the Colts, so he has a real shot. Yeah. But if you're thinking logically, he would not.
They're not.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the Colts. Yep. That's the Colts. And they fired Frank Reich, who immediately got a head coach. Not immediately, but very quickly.
He was the first
got a head coach.
Get hired.
Yep. So on to some other news. There were some like injury things from this week. Justin Herbert has had surgery on his left shoulder. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has had ankle surgery. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has cleared concussion protocol. The big injury news of the week was Brock Purdy, who suffered a completely torn UCL, which is the ulnar collateral ligament in your elbow, after pressure from Hassan Reddick. He is seeking second opinions and hopes to undergo a repair instead of a reconstruction. Reconstruction is commonly known as the Tommy John surgery. You see that a lot in baseball with pitchers and everything.
Yep.
The timeline for repair is 6 months recovery. The timeline for reconstruction is closer to a year. So he's currently exploring his options, going around the country, trying to find out what is best for him going forward.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
It's almost like you probably shouldn't try and block an all-pro pass rusher with your backup tight end.
Yeah. And then Josh Johnson went in for a little bit to replace Brock Purdy. When you have a UCL injury, it's common that you literally can't feel your fingers, which I think was part of it. Greg Olsen did talk about that, that he was like, even if his elbow feels fine right now, which is possible, it's all about grip strength for a quarterback, and not being able to feel your fingers that well is not conducive for good grip strength, which is not conducive for keeping possession of the football. So they put Josh Johnson in, and then Josh Johnson shortly after left with a concussion, and Brock Purdy did have to come in, aside from some wildcat snaps from Christian McCaffrey.
They never actually did a wildcat snap. Not before.
It wasn't
not before
no.
Brock Purdy came in. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, they look like they were putting the thing in his helmet, but they.
That was. Oh my god! I felt like I was like in his shoes in that moment because he looked like panicked. And I will say that let's get into the last 2 pieces of news first.
Yep.
Jerry Jones says he wants Ezekiel Elliott back in 2023.
Jerry Jones is a moron.
Yeah. There's also conversations about restructuring Dak Prescott's contract to have a lower cap hit, but the Cowboys say they see him as the future quarterback for the next 10 years.
Then it won't matter if they restructure him. That's fine.
Yep. The former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr has been named to the Pro Bowl, which is taking place in Vegas, as an alternate for Joe Burrow. And Eagles offensive lineman Josh Shields has been placed on the commissioner exempt list after he was indicted on charges of rape and kidnapping from an incident in 2019, which they have been investigating, and a grand jury just chose to move forward with the case. So he is now on the commissioner's exempt list and will not be playing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I got that notification today, and I was very caught off guard.
Yeah.
That was not something I was aware of.
I don't think anybody was. It kind of came out of left field. And when I had clicked the article, obviously, because I hadn't heard of it, I assumed it was something that happened like very recently.
Yeah, but no.
It was 2019, but it's not like this is coming out now. This is something that's been being investigated and collecting evidence and going through the formal judicial process of going to a grand jury to see if they had enough to indict for charges.
Interesting. He was an undrafted free agent this season, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, even in all my like off-season podcasting, listening, doing, and reading, I hadn't even heard about that about Josh Shields. So
yep.
Surprising.
So he will not be playing. let's jump into the games because I'll start with this question. There was a fight during the Eagles-Niners game. Is that Eagles player going to be allowed to play?
Kayvon Wallace, yeah.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, he should be fine.
There was some confusion about it because, sometimes it's like a 4-quarter penalty and that's mostly college. But so my brain was getting confused, and then that was the one time Greg Olsen made me a little bit confused this past weekend. And then I was a little bit confused about it.
The thought there was sometimes it's up to that. That's not a set rule. That's if the commissioner sees fit, he could possibly say you're suspended for a game. But no, he's not suspended. At least he's not yet. And I would assume that we would have heard by now.
Yep. Do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown? I know his suspension or ejection was retaliatory.
It both was and wasn't. And obviously I'm an Eagles fan. He was getting in the face of someone. I have still yet to fully get an idea of what was seen, like what was fully happening. I haven't found a good recollection of it. He was up in the face of someone and they were kind of jawing at each other, and I don't know who started it, whatever. That is more so, I think, what he got ejected for. And then Trent Williams he just did too much. I think if Kayvon Wallace, if it had ended there, I don't think he would have gotten ejected. I think maybe there would have been a flag.
He did throw a punch after Trent Williams threw him to the ground. That's what I was more so talking about.
Yeah. The thing that started it was Kayvon Wallace in theory. I mean, both him and the Niners guy, I forget who it was, were jawing at each other. But Kayvon Wallace was not backing down from that guy. I don't remember who it was. But yeah, Trent Williams grabbed him and threw him down, and
WWE style.
Yeah, all hell broke loose. Just a really, really classy showing from the Niners. I mean, you had Dre Greenlaw just punching the crap out of, I'm pretty sure it was
3 punches.
Well, and half of them came after the whistle was blown. That's the ridiculous part. Is all right, you're going for body blows to get a fumble, fine, whatever. But the whistle was blown, and then you just kept punching.
Yeah, and that's one of those penalties that is ref discretion. Because obviously you're allowed to try and force a fumble in that way.
Yeah,
but there's
not after the
line.
whistle's blown.
Exactly, there's a line, and the refs have discretion, and they did call that one. Yeah, and then the late hit too.
The late hit was
egregious.
Yeah, I mean. People are talking about the one on Mahomes at the end of that game. I think the one in the Eagles game was actively worse. And I'm not saying that because I'm an Eagles fan and I love Jalen Hurts, but it was just way, way late. And Jalen Hurts went flying a decent bit more than Mahomes did. I also forget who that was on that play.
Joseph Osai.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
From the Bengals.
Yes. No. I meant on the Eagles game.
Oh,
I don't remember who the Niners player that did it was.
Yes. Neither.
But yeah, some really it got out of hand really, really quickly. I was starting to get legitimately worried. I was saying maybe a drive or two before Jalen Hurts came out of the game that they should get him out of the game now.
Yep.
Because
I had texted you. It felt like everything just unraveled so quickly.
Oh yeah. Well, the third play of the game for the Niners, they lost Brock Purdy. Second play, whatever.
Exactly. And part of it is I understand the frustrations, but the way things played out was not the best look. I think it was not a good look. You had said big sore loser energy, and that is what it felt like. Do you want to give us a recap on the Jumbotron comments?
Oh my God. Hold on. I got to pull it up because I don't want to miss it. This is big loser energy in a completely different way. Where is it? I sent it to you, right?
I believe so. While you're looking this up, I can tell you that they did 30 minutes ago, they had held a press conference, and Kyle Shanahan was talking about how he is in favor of the third quarterback rule, which allows teams to have an emergency quarterback in uniform on game days. He said it would be good for football because the quarterbacks will get to develop. I understand their point of view, and it is especially tied to that game because of what had happened. They didn't have an emergency quarterback. They had to put Christian McCaffrey in what I was saying earlier. Yep. I was having anxiety watching that because he was trying to get a new helmet put on, a quarterback helmet, which has the speakers and the mic in it. And he had come into that game injured, and then you were putting him to
be
the quarterback after two of them had just got injured.
So this was so Kyle Shanahan was quoted saying about the Devonta Smith catch / non-catch. I was going to throw one anyways, speaking about a challenge flag.
Mm-hmm.
Shanahan said just a hope to take the chance, but they showed a replay up on the scoreboard and that looked like a catch. So we didn't want to take a timeout, which we would have if we didn't see that. The replay that was shown on the scoreboard was showing a favorable angle for the Eagles, was apparently the difference between a turnover and a touchdown. That's ridiculous. That is so freaking dumb. Like, dude, you are a head coach in the National Football League.
Yep.
Like, I'm sorry. I thought it was a catch. Once I saw the replay, I thought it was a catch. But
yes,
in the back of my mind,
angle that came out in like the fourth quarter was the only time we saw an angle that made it show like it wasn't a catch.
But the big difference there is, first of all, I don't think he ended up using those timeouts. Second of all, the big thing is Devonta Smith got up immediately and started pounding his fists together, which is the signal for we need to run a play right now.
Yes.
If for no other reason, Kyle Shanahan should have thrown the flag because Devonta Smith wasn't sure he should catch it.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm watching this and I'm saying, oh, he's going to throw the flag, it is not my job to be a head coach in the National Football League. I'm not biased. I thought he caught it, but seeing Devonta Smith do what he did, I was like, oh, there's some doubt there.
Yes.
Like,
you could tell the hustle from the entire offense.
Yeah.
And Greg Olsen did explain to us that all teams have either a cue word or a motion in which it's saying, I'm not sure this play will stand. Hurry up and get to the line. And if you watch film, you should be able to point something like that out. And I think blaming the Eagles for showing a bad angle on their own Jumbotron is not the best way to go about it. You should have people in the booth who have every angle.
And it's like what is the worst case scenario if you throw the challenge and it doesn't you waste your a challenge and a timeout. So what?
Yeah.
Because best case scenario is the difference of like 40 some yards and it's field position and a turnover of downs. That's massive in a game where you are undermanned. I mean, you weren't undermanned yet, but you were still like you're on the road. Like this is what I was talking about last week when I said the massive difference is Kyle Shanahan is a fantastic offensive mind. He's fantastic at game planning, all that. He is not a good coach. He is not a good game manager. He is not a good coach.
Yep.
He is honestly, I think he's better suited to be an offensive coordinator or hire someone like freaking Nathaniel Hackett did to actually take care of game day shit
and
because
time clock and
it's so ridiculous how bad he is consistently. And then the thing that pissed me off the most, which shouldn't have pissed me off, was and right before at the end of the half, they got the ball back. I think it was 14-7 at this point.
Yes.
And they got the ball back. And I said to myself, I said, Kyle Shanahan's going to get away with doing what he always does, which is not going for points at the end of the half, because for once it actually makes sense to, because you've got your backup quarterback that got thrown into the game. Yep. All you want to do right now, it's 14-7. All I would be wanting to do is get to the locker room so you can figure out what you need to do in the second half. You're trying to get away with a set, but no, this is the one time he goes for it. When you're on your backup quarterback who has been getting destroyed all game. Your offensive line is getting destroyed all game, and now you choose to go for it, and what happens? Fumble, touchdown Eagles before the half, 21-7, game over. Like, it is incredible how stupid he is for being so smart. Who the hell's idea, it was his, was it to block Hassan Reddick with a backup tight end? Like, people are angry about Hassan. First of all, people are angry about Hassan Reddick injuring Brock Purdy, saying he should apologize. That was one of the cleanest hits I think I've ever seen.
It was very clean.
It wasn't even a sack. It was a forced fumble.
Yep.
Like,
he avoided like all body contact to avoid roughing the passer. He hit his arm in the perfect manner in which it sent the arm backwards. It was unfortunate what happened to Brock Purdy, but what was done was extreme. One of the most clean, like forced quarterback fumbles I've seen in a while.
Kyle Shanahan is 1,000% more to blame than Hassan Reddick. Because you are trying to block Hassan Reddick with a backup tight end. You gave him no extra help. Like that is... And then he kept doing it.
Yeah.
Like, do you hate Josh Johnson? What is wrong with you?
And it's funny because that was the one thing we had said going in was you need to allow Brock Purdy to have time in the pocket, and you need to figure out some sort of combination for that offensive line, which will give them one extra second. Like literally 1 extra second may make all the difference in this game, and it did.
Yep.
So Eagles advance.
Yep.
Any last thoughts on the game before we talk about the Chiefs Bengals?
Lane Johnson re-tore his groin last week.
Yes. Oh my God,
that didn't come out until like 20 minutes before game time. And I'm just sitting on Twitter and I get a notification from like Jay Glazer that he said that he re-torn. I was like, if you're listening, you can't see my face, but I was very wide-eyed and I was like, oh no, that's not great. And then Nick Bosa I'm not even sure Nick Bosa had a stat. He might have had a tackle.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year, my ass. Like Lane Johnson, you're a beast, first of all. But
he was talking about how like his main thing right now is a sense of urgency to win a championship. He's like, I need, like, it literally was like a plead, like, please, I'm hurt. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was a quote about him like my feeling right now is urgency. I want to get to the Super Bowl. I want to win. And then like I need to
and then
heal.
He's gonna get surgery.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. It was a very interesting game.
It was.
I hate that. I'm just angry in general with the way people are dismissing the Eagles. They've been the best team in football all season. It is that simple. I don't care who they had to beat to get there because they're there. And any other opinion is stupid and ignorant, in my opinion. Like I you can only play who's put in front of you. I don't know what else. No one else in the NFC got to the Super Bowl. It was the Eagles. It's as simple as that. So whatever.
Yep. And you like I understand where people are coming from when saying it, but you have to still put the caveat of the Eagles are a super team. Like they just chose to build a super team at the perfect moment, where the NFC is in a little bit of a lull.
Oh yeah,
and you built a super team at the perfect time to pave your way to the Super Bowl. What happens there? No one knows yet, unless the NFL is scripted and they know already.
True.
But you can't. Even if they didn't play anyone, this team still is good, and you cannot blame them for building a super team at the perfect moment.
They still put up 31 points against the league's top defense. Like,
yes,
where did that go? Everyone talking about how they wouldn't be able to do anything against the league. Oh, well, they put up 31. That has nothing to do with Brock Purdy.
Yeah,
like I don't know what to tell you. Like, what else do you want? It pisses me off. It's fine. Yeah. They're gonna win the Super Bowl, and it's all gonna be all right. And then people are gonna complain that Patrick Mahomes is injured. So.
Yep, and on the other side of the ball, we had the other side of the league, I should say. That was my apologies. For
the
AFC,
country, possibly.
Yeah, the country, maybe ish. Yes. The Chiefs played the Bengals, in which the Chiefs came out on top, and Kelsey made it very clear that the Cincinnati mayor, or I should clarify here, Travis Kelsey made it very clear that the Cincinnati mayor should shut his mouth and mind his own business, and that it is not Burrowhead, which was one of the storylines going into it, that this is Arrowhead, don't disrespect it, with a couple or one profanity thrown in there somewhere.
And he's a jabroni.
Yeah.
The mayor, that is, not Travis Kelsey.
Yes, he did say that.
Yeah. I mean, we were kind of talking beforehand. Neither game was overly exciting. The end of the game with the Bengals and the Chiefs was exciting because you didn't really know what was going to happen. Obviously, I meant to mention this. I don't think I've ever seen more things go wrong in a single game than I did the Eagles-Niners. Like, everything that it could have possibly been weird and gone wrong went wrong. And it was incredible to watch. Broken chains somehow again. What? Come on. What the heck?
Oh, the punt with the wire.
The punt with the wire and having no proof that it happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything with the Devonta Smith catch.
The announcer came out and is literally like, "We have no, I don't know. There's no proof."
Like it was one of the slowest moving like first halves that I've ever seen in one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. That was barely even a game. It almost wasn't worth watching.
Yeah.
And then you follow that up with the refereeing disaster that was the Kansas City Cincinnati game. And this was not a good weekend for the NFL.
No.
Regardless of their TV ratings and all that, like it was just not a good week if you're an avid NFL fan because there was a lot to hate.
Yeah, we did know going into it that the referees that were put in place for, I cannot remember, I don't want to misquote, it was either last weekend or this weekend, could be both, were the referees who were the most flag happy throughout the season. So it almost was like set up the playoffs. We're going to have a little bit more like flags and penalties thrown. But yeah, I wish my instant replay comment I could hold off for a little bit longer, because I did love instant replay, but this one felt like it could be used a little bit more because that Chiefs-Bengals game was not well officiated.
No, and the thing that everyone's pointing to obviously is the one of the last plays of the game where Mahomes got hit out of bounds. That was like the least concerning of any of the calls. Like that was it, people were angry because the refs unfortunately were a big part of the end of the game, which is never fun to watch. And if they hadn't been doing what they had been doing all game, I don't think people would be as upset by it. But because it was such a poorly officiated game up to that point, that just made that call 10,000 times more annoying. But yeah, there was the fact that like I still don't even fully understand what happened, but the Chiefs somehow had a 5th down.
Oh my god!
And it was just
I texted you during that, and you went to walk the dog at the worst time.
I wasn't even walking my dog. I just took her outside.
Oh, to play or something.
Yeah, she just needed to pee. I took her out. I took her out back. You text me something about a 5th down. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like
my text messages could be viewed as like I don't know football. Like I literally was like, they're getting a 5th down. You were like, what? And I didn't know how to say anything because I didn't know what was going. No one knew what was going on. The Chiefs somehow had like 5 chances.
Normally, I go on Twitter and that clears things up. I didn't even clear. They just did the same thing you did. That wasn't helpful. No. Wasn't helpful at all.
When I texted you that, I used like the text to speak because I couldn't put like my thoughts together to like write it down coherently. So I just like rambled that I was like, now they got it taken away a 3rd down, then they had to do it again, and now it's 5th down, and I don't really understand what's happening, and they're trying to explain it. It was the most confusing series of events I've seen in a while.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't good.
No. It was great for the people who love to post on Twitter about how the NFL does everything they can for Patrick Mahomes. They had a great time with it.
Yeah, I can't stand that narrative. I can't. I'm sure at some point in my adolescent life, I believed that things were rigged to some degree. I just don't get how you can be an adult and actively feel that way. Like I truly don't get it. Like I'm sorry, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and someone has proof, I will happily eat crow. I do not think Roger Goodell is paying any of these officials extra to specifically make sure that Patrick Mahomes wins this game. Like, do the officials suck? Absolutely. They're horrible most of the time. They are completely just not on the same level that they should be for a professional sports organization.
Yep.
Everyone can agree on that. The NFL is not rigged. It's not scripted. It's just bad refereeing. Like Patrick Mahomes just happens to be the type of player that will most likely benefit from that type of stuff. Yes. So I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. 2 comments. One, one of my favorite. So for those of you who don't know, former NFL player was quoted saying the NFL is scripted, not rigged. That it's scripted, like this is a TV show. He was kidding, but be very clear. The internet sparked what they do best and gave us so many good, enjoyable moments. One of my favorites was like a video. It looks like it was Tom Brady at some point where he like leans back in his chair, looks over and smiles. Yeah. And the quote was Tom Brady when Matt Ryan walks in the room for the script reading of the Super Bowl 51. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. It's really hilarious if you go watch the ones. There's a bunch of Antonio Brown ones. A whole bunch of Antonio Brown ones. He was trending at one point, and that's when I had been at work, and I think it was like my lunch, and I look on Twitter, and Antonio Brown's trending. I'm like, oh, good God. And I click on it, and I'm like, wait, what did I miss? Yes. And that's when I saw the video of Arian Foster talking about the scripted. I think he was on with like PFT commentator. Yes, it was one of the Barstool ones. But my thoughts on it. I was having this conversation with someone else. NFL is obviously not scripted, obviously not rigged. There's no way you get that many people on board with your script. These people are like real people, competitive people. They're never going to put their pride aside. They're pro athletes. I can say that I think the NFL puts chess pieces in play to hope it works out the way they want. Like the Packers having that
Sunday night football game, knowing they had a chance to go in, it lined up that it looked like, hey, it would be really cool if the Packers go into the playoffs. I think the NFL sets up schedules in certain ways, and
but that's
in hopes that something works out.
Well, of course,
but it's not scripted, it's not rigged. It's going to play out the way it plays out, but the NFL sets it up in a way that they can hopefully have a storyline they want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes complete sense. I don't think that's a secret. I think that's, and I'm not even disagreeing with you. I agree. I don't think they're hiding their intentions. Like, I think it's very much just like, hey, we should put these really interesting looking matchups on these really prime days that would be things like, there's a reason that the second game on Sunday was Burrow and Mahomes and not Hurts and Purdy.
Because most people would be on their couches
to
watch that one.
Yeah, there's a reason that a ton of games get moved around as the season goes on and we learn more about the teams. It makes sense. So
exactly. So I think that's the extent, though. Either way, the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. It will be Eagles versus Chiefs. It is the Andy Reid Bowl. It is the Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce New Heights Bowl. I'm so excited for Mama Donna Kelce. I'm so excited for her. I love her.
I feel bad for her.
I know. She was going to wear that two-tone jersey. That is the only one in the NFL I support. No one else should be wearing a two-team jersey ever, except for Donna Kelce.
I mean, other mothers in general.
Yes, but like, like the fans who are like the... Yes. That's what I mean. Like, that's the only acceptable one. Is that
family-related things are the only ones that are okay.
Yep. University of Cincinnati is very happy about it, as both boys played for their... What?
The mayor's not.
No. I didn't even think about that. That they both went to Cincinnati, and now Cincinnati is happy.
Apparently the mayor actually was a really good sport about it, but yeah.
Yeah, he did. He tweeted back to a video of Travis Kelce that was like, I deserve that good win type of thing. Yeah. I would like resign from my job. Couldn't. I know next week we're gonna do a little bit of input a lot of input, our preview for the Super Bowl. We're still a week out. Thank you. You did want to, let's go ahead and just give what we think as of right now, who would win and who we would want to win.
Yeah. I mean, who I want to win is obviously the Eagles. I mean, but also who I think is going to win, it's the Eagles. I mean, you look on paper and I think there's 2, maybe 3 positions or position groups that the Chiefs are better. It's quarterback. Both quarterbacks are not 100% right now. Hurts has got the ankle. Jalen Hurts has got the shoulder. They're the top 2 in MVP. It's not like it's a landslide in one direction. This isn't Tom Brady versus Nick Foles. And it's tight end. And again, Travis Kelce is the best in the league. Dallas Goedert isn't too far behind. Everything else, wide receivers, it's the Eagles. Pass catchers as a whole, it's the Eagles. Running back, it's the Eagles. Offense, the Eagles have the best offensive line and defensive line in the NFL. And because of that, they should be the favorite in any game.
Mine
I think it's that simple.
I agree with you on who I think is going to win. I think it's going to be the Eagles. I mean, my key to success again is that pass rush. It is deadly. I think anybody should be terrified to have that pass rush in your face.
Hassan Reddick as an MVP vote has good odds right now. It has been going up, down. The odds have been getting worse. Yeah. So
because he's been playing so well.
I put money on it.
The pass rush, I would, even if you're Patrick Mahomes, that's, pass rush
especially
is
an
terrifying.
injured Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. And the Chiefs had a lot of injuries to their wide receiver room during that game. It was kind of like a carousel, a rotating door. People were in and out and in and out. I think I know Kadarius Toney went out for a bit. Sky Moore went out for a bit. Everyone was in and out with injuries, which is not a great way to play, especially because I think that is one of the areas you could exploit with the Eagles. So I think
disagree.
But I think that
and James Bradbury are the best double.
No, listen, I know, but I just think there are ways to exploit Darius Slay. We have seen that all season long.
I mean, sure, but
I'm saying I don't think the Chiefs win with the run game. They're gonna have to throw it.
Yeah, but that's Travis Kelce.
Yeah. Either
I don't know.
But I still
the
think
best quarterback duo in the league is Darius Slay and James Bradbury. And Avonte Maddox is also one of the best slot corners in the league, and he just came back from injury, and he's going to have 2 more weeks to get healthier. Cornerback is not what I would be looking to attack.
All I'm saying is that I don't think the run game wins it for the Chiefs.
No, I don't think so either.
I was heartbroken when James Bradbury said his pick in the game against the Giants was a top 3 moment in his career for him. Either way, I would love neither of these teams to win. That would be great. But if I had to pick who I want to win, it would be the Chiefs. Who I think is going to win is the Eagles.
Wait, who do you want to win?
Who I want to win games against number 1 seed, the Giants. Since the playoffs restructuring in 1990, the Giants are a perfect 6-0. That 6-game win streak versus the number 1 is the longest by any franchise in the NFL since the NFL began seeding the playoff teams in 1975. I love this Giants team.
Do you think they're going to win?
Yes. Since 97, I think the Giants win 1 game. If they win the first game, they end up going to the Super Bowl. I do think the Giants walk away with this one, and it's at that. I think it's a little bit more low scoring than people are expecting. I think the Giants are end up winning it on like a pick 6. I think expect this team to be here. So, do I think it's going to win? Yes. I'll take your real victory too because they're going to win. The Giants are going to win. The Giants have the vibes, man. What's your final score prediction?
38-7.
Wow. Thank you for that. You told me there was going to be none of that today.
I said I didn't have a new one.
Oh, no, you said there was going to be no callbacks.
Well, that's your own fault.
Yeah, okay, whatever. Either way, last thing on our agenda for today is to talk about the NFL honors, which will take place before the Super Bowl. We do have our finalists for NFL honors. Why don't we start at the bottom and work our way up?
Okay.
So the assistant coach of the year up for the title is the offensive coordinator for the Lions, Ben Johnson. The former defensive 49ers, the former defensive coordinator for the 49ers, DeMeco Ryans, who has since been hired by the Texans, and Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. Anyone stand out for you?
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be DeMeco Ryans.
It
should be DeMeco Ryans. I think Ben Johnson is actually a really, really, really interesting choice. I don't
It
think
is.
I also think he's a really interesting head coaching candidate. I don't know if he'll get hired at this point. I forget if either of the teams that haven't hired anyone interviewed him or not. But I do think that he's really interesting. I think he's really talented. Neither of the teams interviewed him. I know he got interviewed by some of the other teams, but regardless.
No, he was interviewed by the Colts.
Oh.
He said he's staying with the Lions, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be DeMeco Ryans. I mean, what he did this season was just incredible. I
agree. I had asked you before the show, because we know like the committee who picks these things can be weird sometimes. I had asked if anybody who had since like been hired as a head coach is not in their former role has won this award. I think you had said 4 recently who had went on to get
only been awarded 8 times.
This
is a relatively new award, so half of them,
ended up
were a head coach somewhere else.
Exactly. So that was kind of, I was looking into that to see if maybe they wouldn't pick him for that. Either way, for the finalists of Coach of the Year, we have the head coach for the Giants, Brian Daboll, for the Jaguars, Doug Peterson, and for the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan. I would love Brian Daboll to win this, and I think he has a good shot at it. I don't think Kyle Shanahan wins this. I think it's down to 2 between Doug Peterson and Brian Daboll.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan shouldn't win this. It's absolute. No. There's 2 massive just.
Yep.
I hate that they're even on this list anywhere in all of the awards. So you initially had listed Sean McDermott and Nick Sirianni. I crossed them off because the NFL announced that they were finalists, but the AP who run the awards didn't.
Okay, that's why I was confused.
They're not. Which is just really weird that the NFL put it out there that they were because they're not.
Yep.
That's wrong for Nick Sirianni. So first of all, I think Doug Peterson should win it. I kind of think Brian Daboll will, and I don't think that he should. The big reason being, and I didn't realize this, the Giants preseason were picked to win 7 games. They won 9.
I had them at 5.5 was the line I saw.
Right before the season started, which is when these are normally looked at and taken into account. 7 games. Sure, I would have gone with the under, happily. Nick Sirianni, Doug Peterson, both had a bigger jump. I think the Eagles were picked to win 9 games. in the preseason, like after the AJ Brown trade and everything, 9.5. They ended up winning 14. Doug Peterson, I don't remember exactly what I was. I think it was like 4 or 5.
4, I think.
Yeah, I think it should be Doug Peterson because of what he did with that team. And again, the expectation, like whether or not you think that that's how it should work, the way this award typically works is it goes to the coach that that exceeds the expectations of the market by the most. Like if you went back historically, that's almost always who it went to, or it went to one of the top like 2 or 3 coaches that exceeded those expectations. I think that's Doug Peterson this year. I think Brian Daboll did a great job, but I don't know. I just don't necessarily think that it should be him. Also, Nick Sirianni's 5-0 against all of the Coach of the Year candidates. Nice. So the fact that Nick Sirianni isn't a finalist is absolute and total bullshit. So.
What I do agree with you on is I do think it's shaping up that Brian Daboll's gonna win it, but I do agree with you, and it does pain me to say because I would love Brian Daboll to be Coach of the Year. But I think for Doug Peterson, a huge thing is that this team turned around from having back-to-back first overall
and Urban
picks.
Meyer. Like I don't think Urban Meyer is like not just a bad coach. He's just an awful dude. People hated playing for him. That should be taken into an account. Like it's ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah. And they won a playoff game against a team that was slated to do way better than they were. Yeah. And it was just overall good coaching. Like it almost had that, like, there's a lot of things you could describe about Doug Peterson's coaching, but it had that factor of like, this is an indescribable coaching. Like he had everybody wrapped around his finger. That entire team would fight to the death for him. And it was a very quick turnaround. But I think what's going to tie them apart is that I guess you can say now that the Jaguars have a better roster than the Giants do, I guess, maybe. But it's fairly close.
It's mainly because it looks like that because of the coaching, in my opinion. And because they've had back-to-back number 1 overall picks. Like
exactly. And that's why I do think that he should win it. It was just a really quick turnaround for a team who had been the worst in the league for the past several years.
Yeah, and if he gets hosed again, like he should have won in 2017. It's ridiculous that Sean McVay won. I'm still angry about it. He's probably going to get hosed again this year, and I feel bad for Doug because he deserves the world. Yeah. I would die for him. I love him.
Comeback Player of the Year. We were talking about this earlier on before the show. Comeback Player of the Year is the running back from the Giants, Saquon Barkley, the running back from the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey, and Geno Smith, the quarterback of the Seahawks. Again, I feel like there's a clear teardrop between 2 and Geno Smith.
I think there's a tier of 1. Like sorry, hold on. You talk for a minute. Okay.
I know what you're going to say, so I can, I guess, just talk on it. Is that Saquon Barkley did come back last year, and that, everyone is saying Geno Smith shouldn't win it because he came back from just straight up being bad. And I know Duncan thinks that is why what Saquon Barkley did is come back from being bad. I do agree, though, in that I forgot Christian McCaffrey should even really be a candidate for this award until about halfway through, right around when he got traded to the Niners. Just seeing what he was able to do with a new team, like several days after being in a new team, for me, is a clear-cut reason why he should win the Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, the difference, like Saquon Barkley played 13 games last year. He had like some injuries last year, but it was mostly an injury from 2 years ago. He just didn't look good last year. He sucked. Like that. I don't think that's what coming back should be. Like, oh, you sucked last year because of an injury 2 years ago. Like, I think you missed your opportunity for Comeback Player of the Year. If you get better, like great, like fine. But no, I think he might be the betting favorite. I think that's stupid. Geno Smith coming back from just being a backup, that is dumb and doesn't make any sense.
So dumb.
Christian McCaffrey has played 10 total games over the past 2 years before 2022. I'm all in on that. That's fine. The fact that Brandon Graham is not on there is stupid, and it's ridiculous. The dude is 34, I want to say. He came off a torn Achilles at 34. He played 2 games last year. He missed almost the entire season. And had a career high in sacks, helped the Eagles put up the 3rd most sacks ever in a single season with 70. He had double-digit sacks, and he played every single game this season. And it was literally the best season of his entire career at age 34. His 13th season in the NFL. The fact that he's not even a finalist is ridiculous. He should be the winner, in my opinion. Like what he came back from is just, it's insane. Christian McCaffrey came back from multiple soft tissue issues. Like, okay, fine. What Brandon Graham came back from and what he overcome to do what he did. Like Christian McCaffrey didn't have the best season of his career. And that's because he's Christian McCaffrey and he's had an incredible season. But Brandon Graham's 34. Christian McCaffrey's 26. Like, if Alex Smith got it for being okay after coming back from what he came back, I know he should have gotten it because what he came back from was freaking incredible. But like, there's no consistency to this award, and it pisses me off because Brandon Graham isn't even like on the ballot, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I would have won over $1,000 if he did get it. It actually does. It truly, I would trade that $1,000 for him to win it because I love Brandon Graham.
I know.
An all-time hero. And he just deserves better. He deserves to be on the ballot. I would trade that $1,000 for him to be on the ballot.
Yeah, I think for me, what sets that apart is that
Brandon Graham
like
is an
coming back,
the
the precedent set for coming back from an Achilles injury is very low. Like there is a very, very, very low bar for people returning to the NFL after Achilles injuries. And he like surpassed everything, which was crazy.
Yeah. And like, it's just like, he looked that way all offseason too. Like that's the crazy part is like, if you were following the Eagles, you were sitting there like, he can't really be about to do what he's about to do. And it turns out like you look back and no, he was going to, and he didn't. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. It's because he's not like, he's the third string defensive end. I guess he's technically a starting defensive end because Hassan Reddick is technically like an outside linebacker pass rusher. He's like the Sam. But I get it. He's not the name that the other guys are, but it's ridiculous. It's stupid.
It's similar. I don't think to the same level, but it's similar how I feel about Nick Gates, the Giants offensive lineman, who he was the one September of last year, right in the beginning of the season, who had like snapped his leg in half. And it was like the gruesome injury that he needed like 7 surgeries to fix. They didn't think he was ever going to play football again. That's another one that would be nice just to have listed as a finalist.
Yeah, if he was a quarterback, he'd probably be on the list.
Exactly. And that's one of those injuries that's like another injury that's like, that's really hard to come back from. So I wish that name was on the list, at least. I'm not saying win, but at least on the list.
Graham should win. I'm saying that.
We're going to rookies of the year now. For defense of rookies of the year, we have the cornerback from the Jets, Sauce Gardner, the defensive end from the Lions. That is the list. Aiden Hutchinson, and cornerback from the Seahawks, Tariq Woolen. I think we're both in heavy agreement that Sauce Gardner
he's an all-pro, like as a rookie. I don't even know what there is to say about this. The dude was incredible.
What there is to say is I'm so excited for his Super Bowl commercial. That's what there is to say.
Does he have a Super Bowl commercial?
He's having a Super Bowl commercial about sauce or something. They gave us a preview.
Yeah, he's the Buffalo Wild Wings sauce.
Yeah, they gave us like a sneak peek of what's to come during their Super Bowl commercial.
I love that they have trailers for Super Bowl commercials now.
I know. I heard somebody say if you ever see a brand doing something really dumb, right, like in the end of January, it's because they have a Super Bowl commercial. And that got me thinking, like the whole stunt with the Empire State Building was like how that was what made me think about that.
I did not have the Empire State Building getting into a beef with New York City on my bingo card.
Yeah, me either.
But wow.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah. For those who didn't see it, the Empire State Building tweeted out a picture of itself saying like go birds or fly, eagles fly. Exactly. And it was lit up in like green and white right after the Eagles won, which was like caused outrage. Angry mobs were headed to the Empire State Building. But that's what I was thinking about when that happened is like, what are they doing? Like, is this a weird brand thing?
I think it's just the Empire State Building being I think that's just kind of what they do for big events generally. They did it for the Chiefs too.
Yes.
And then the fact that the internet just lost its mind meant that whatever intern is controlling that Twitter just got to go off. Which they
did. They did.
Oh,
the Empire
awesome.
State Building has a very good social team. They have a whoever does their TikToks, I would love to give you a hug. The Empire State Building has a fantastic TikTok account, which is odd. It's a building.
But I love that. I love when stupid things have great.
Yes.
Oh, there's nothing better
so
on social. Like when back when like Wendy's used to have like a really, really great Twitter
account.
Oh
yes. Like the zero filter.
There's this one like national museum in like Texas or something that just lets this random guy that works there. he just controls their Twitter account, and he'll tweet like random selfies of him with things. Like he's all he does not know what's happening.
Yeah,
and he signs all the tweets. Like I still follow it. I love it.
That happened in the NFL this year. Somebody got access
to
like
the Bears.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was confusing. That was really confusing.
It was. Either way, we can move on to offensive rookie of the year.
He wins.
Sauce Gardner. Offensive rookie of the year, quarterback for the Niners, Brock Purdy, running back for the Seahawks, Kenneth Walker III, and the wide receiver from the Jets, Garrett Wilson.
National Cowboy Museum.
Oh, there we go.
That's what it is. I'm looking for.
No, I'm gonna have to go look into
Cowboy Mike. No, hold on.
That's your name.
Okay, never mind. Ignore me. But that's
okay.
He might not actually run it anymore. I don't remember.
Oh, I'll have to look it up. I will dig deep tonight. Who do you think is going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
This was another really weird list.
Yes, I didn't like the list.
No, I think it's a pretty bad list. Brock Purdy being on this list is an absolute travesty, as well as anyone thinking that he should win it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say names, but like there were some people with some pretty strong opinions. Blake, you're a stupid idiot, and I hate you. He's dumb. I don't like Blake. I don't care that you have a second child now. I don't think I like your children anymore either. So go. I can't say die. He is a child. What was I saying? Oh,
Offensive Rookie of the Year win list.
People like there are people that actually fully believe that Brock Purdy should win it. No, that makes no sense whatsoever. He played like 7 games. I don't care if he didn't lose. He had the #1 defense in the league and the best offensive skill position set of players in the league. Like, no, stop it. He was not that impressive. And with that, the snub of Chris Olave, who had near identical stats to Garrett Wilson, was very, very stupid. I do believe Garrett Wilson should win it. I don't know if he will, because at this point, the fact that Brock Purdy's on there is confusing to me.
Yes.
But I think that Garrett Wilson should win it. What he did was really impressive this season. He was really good.
I always liked Kenneth Walker to win this award. But like you said, Brock Purdy being on the list makes me think they already have their minds made up that Brock Purdy's going to win the award. Let's breeze through our next few. We are short on time. For Offensive Player of the Year, our finalists are Tyreek Hill, wide receiver from the Dolphins, Jalen Hurts, the quarterback for the Eagles, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, and Patrick Mahomes, who is the QB for the Chiefs.
Really weird one. I never know what to do with Offensive Player of the Year because it really, truly
it relies on MVP too.
Yeah. So normally I think I'd say it should probably be Justin Jefferson. The fact that both Hurts and Mahomes are on there makes me wonder if they're going to give it to Hurts because Mahomes is going to win
Mahomes is going to win the MVP. Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be Tyreek Hill. I think he was there to fill out the list.
Yeah. That was our winner mid-season, and then it all went downhill after that.
Yeah, it didn't get better. So yeah, my vote is for either Jalen Hurts or Justin Jefferson. I think they might give it to Hurts if they give the MVP to Mahomes, or it's just there so he's a finalist and it's going to go to Jefferson. I think Jefferson absolutely deserves it. He had a great season. Yeah, not a lot to say there.
I completely agree with you. It
truly feels like the MVP runner-up most times.
Yes, exactly. And that's why this award is hard to pick someone to win because it's so stringent on what happens in the MVP. So if you see someone like Jalen Hurts win this award, you already know Patrick Mahomes is winning MVP. But for Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, and Micah Parsons.
All right, I've had a lot of rants. I almost forgot how angry I was about all of these. The fact that Hassan Reddick is not on this list is stupid. I'm not even saying he should win. He should be in consideration. The fact that he's not on it, I'll put it this way. I don't remember who said this because it was like 2 weeks ago. If Hassan Reddick's name was Micah Parsons, he would be a candidate. It's that simple. If Hassan Reddick's name was Nick Bosa, he would be in consideration. It's truly that simple. There's nothing in his stats that shows that he should not be at least one of the finalists. He had a better season than Micah Parsons. And he came up in the second half of the season. He was unfreaking believable how consistent and how good he was. And he didn't only get sacks. He had, I think, 3 or 4 more forced fumbles than Nick Bosa on the season. He's been awesome in the playoffs, which doesn't count for these awards. But it's ridiculous if Hassan Reddick's not on here. That all being said, Nick Bosa is probably going to win it. I guess he deserves it. Whatever.
Sportsbooks pulled his lines 3 weeks ago that you couldn't even bet him being the winner anymore.
Whatever.
And our MVP finalists are quarterback Josh Allen from the Bills, quarterback Joe Burrow from the Bengals, quarterback Jalen Hurts from the Eagles, quarterback Patrick Mahomes from the Chiefs, and wide receiver Justin Jefferson from the Vikings. And I know we're both in agreement here. It's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
No, he deserves it. I can't even be mad. Like I when I say that it should be Jalen Hurts, it's purely because he had one loss in his entire season as a starter, and in the 2 games that he didn't play, the Eagles fell apart. Like, I think that should count for something. It's not that Patrick Mahomes doesn't deserve it, because he did. The numbers he put up are insane. And the fact that he did it with the wide receiving core that he did it with is insane. I don't think that Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni, for that matter, should be docked for the talent they have around them. It's like getting mad at the Eagles for making the Super Bowl with an easy schedule. What do you expect them to do? Would you rather them be bad? Like, I don't know. Mahomes absolutely deserves to win. I would pick Jalen Hurts partly because I'm an Eagles fan and I think he deserves it as well. I think they're both deserving. Mahomes is going to get it. Jalen Hurts isn't going to get it because he missed 2 games, and I think that's a bad reason for him to not get it. So
I didn't think I'd find myself in a place where I thought Josh Allen shouldn't be on this list this year. But he is very clearly the odd man out here. I think Patrick Mahomes 100% wins it, and I do think he deserves it. I think one of the huge things that ties into it is that he's doing all of this with all of these crazy numbers the year after losing Tyreek Hill, which is like a really important factor that can't be overlooked. With you beat me to it with the wide receiving core, and just the latest injury he had on the ankle is just another story, like icing on the cake for.
I can't go into the MVP talk though.
I know it can't.
Regular season award, Ashley.
I know, but they think.
Well, no, they don't.
They're
voted
human
on
beings
before the postseason.
I know, but either way,
the postseason is just what everyone points to when Doug Peterson should have won, and then Sean McVay didn't make it past the first round, and Doug Peterson's going to the Super Bowl, and they give it to Sean McVay for winning Coach of the Year after losing in the first round. Everyone's like, haha, you idiot, you didn't make the Super Bowl, you stupid idiot.
Oh, boy.
I remember exactly where I was when Sean McVay got that award.
Fun. Either way, we have the NFL honors ceremony will be on February 9th next week.
The Hall of Fame members.
What?
They'll also announce the Hall of Fame inductees.
Oh,
that was my favorite part.
Gotcha. And we do have the Pro Bowl events coming up this weekend, in between now and the Super Bowl. Duncan, anything you want to say, and where can we find you?
I want to say thank you to Blake because he told me my beard looks amazing. And I was actually thinking before this episode, I miss Blake being on here and telling me my hair looks good. Yes, but you need a haircut, but that's really beside the point. You can find me as confident as I may seem now. I will slowly deteriorate. My mental health will slowly deteriorate over the course of the next 10 days. So by next week, I may or may not be here and be alive. We'll see. But otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at mpduncan75. You can find me other places probably if you look hard enough. And you can find me hopefully on Broad Street celebrating another Super Bowl victory.
Grease the polls. You can find me, unfortunately, not at the Super Bowl unless somebody wants to give Duncan and I tickets.
Woo! I think Blake said he'd pay for it.
Blake, that's so sweet. Blake's buying us Super Bowl tickets.
Thanks, Blake.
You can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's and Ashley. You can find me, Duncan, and all of the Undroppables crew on our exclusive Discord channels.
Clue. One of my favorite games.
I do like Clue. Discord channels, which you can gain access to by becoming a patron at patreon.com/theundroppables. A small fee gets you access to the whole team to be able to talk anything, any sport, mostly football, but we talk fantasy, sports betting advice, trades, all that jazz. So it's a really great community and you should join. Either way, thank you for joining us. We'll be here next week to talk about some Super Bowl fun facts, our betting, what we would put our money on, and just the general outlook of what the Super Bowl is going to be. So we hope to see you then, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Have a great week. Go Birds.
Bye.